Hi everyone, welcome to episode 6 of Enforcer and the Dude. We deal in facts, not fiction. We like leading, we don't like following. Now, coming up on this episode, we've got a review of worldwide motorsport, both here and overseas as well. We've got part 2 of Supercars cost cutting. It's a really cool one, so don't miss this one. And of course, our very special guests. So stay tuned, here we go, let's get into it. Hey dude, welcome to episode 6. Jeez,
knocking them off, mate.
I know, 6 episodes has been cool. Great feedback for the last one too. Everyone liked our cost-cutting segment as well.
So they did like that, and the fans are out in force in Townsville, mate. Everywhere I walked at the race meeting on the weekend, there was plenty of Enforcer of the Dude fans.
That's what you reckon. You're like a rock star. Every second person coming up and saying, "Oh, how good, we love it." You know.
Yeah,
so
love it. Love it.
Tell
it like it is. It's exactly what we want. So yeah, we're definitely. Right up there with the fans, they love us.
Yeah, thanks for that too. We really appreciate your feedback and everything that's coming back through your comments as well. It's been really great. Now, quickly, we've got to acknowledge that Castrol Australia is going to be our official sponsor of the show now.
Awesome.
So that's going to take us right through to the end of the year now. So thank you very much to Castrol for coming on board. And also, another one, DPO.
Yeah.
Direct Plasterboard Supplies down in Sydney. The Morgan family, thanks for coming on board. They're involved in motorsport with the TCR. And,
yeah, TCR, and I was involved with Barry back when we won the 12 hour. So his production car BMW was in the same team. So go back a long way, and it's awesome to have them on board.
Absolutely. Okay, direct plasterboard outlet. So if you need plasterboard, go see the boys there. If you support our sponsors, they support us, and we can keep this show going. So thank you very much for coming on board, you guys. Rightio, let's get straight into it. PM review. A lot of racing been going on, especially overseas. F1. Man, that's.
I reckon they were watching the show.
Oh, I reckon they were.
Because we're like, let them race.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty well sure I saw him actually get on TV and said, "Yeah, we've been watching that Enforcer and the Dude. That Paul Morris, he knows racing." But you're right. Jesus, they were good. Yeah. And I refer to the Verstappen Leclerc incident as well. Now we have got some video on that, so. Check this out, just to refresh everyone's mind as well. I tell you what, talk about hard racing, man. This was the last lap. That was Verstappen coming right in on Leclerc. Last lap, going for the win. Man, he didn't mess about, did he?
Well, he had to go earlier on, and Leclerc, knows the rules and knows he has to give him room. And again, the rules are on the slower driver, but Verstappen's just eased him off the road, like we showed out here on our racing tactics.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's exactly the same too.
And look, boom, have one of those, mate. I'm going for the win. And if that's what people want to see.
Well, there's no doubt that he opened up the wheel.
Hell, of course he did.
On the way out. But again, and you're right, it's when we explain the race tactics here, it's exactly right. Like, you've got in there, he got in there legit, he ran him wide, no problems at all, but Leclerc blew up about it. He's still a young guy as far as F1 goes, and he seems like he's very fast, but he just seems that type of guy that, he's still a little bit on the soft with Verstappen, man.
Yeah, he just went for it, but...
He's like the Gisbergen, isn't he?
Yeah, and those guys have history going back to karting days, so there's some footage of them having a blue in karting, and it's exactly the same opposite that someone's unearthed. But again, Leclerc just looked at the rules and said, well, the rules are on my side. I can go slow and hold the guy up, and Verstappen's gone, well, I'm just going to move you out of the way, mate. And
so right call not getting a penalty for it.
Well, if you read the rules, he should have got a penalty, but they've obviously found a way to interpret the rule different that time, because there would have been an uproar from the fans, mate. People would have just started switching off.
Yeah, Dutch driver.
Yeah, yeah, and it's how it should be. There was absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, not at all. Okay, let's roll back the clock a little bit as well. Let's look at some vision from when Vettel got done at the Canadian GP.
Yeah.
Like, when you look at this, like at the end of the day, he speared off, right? Speared off on the grass, a bit out of control, dirt on the tyres, come on, ran a little bit wide. So he cops a 5-second penalty for this.
Yeah, well, they're saying that's an unsafe rejoin of the circuit, but...
Like really, I mean, you're not going to... to me, there was nothing in that. Like he'd got on. Yeah, he might have opened up a little bit, but to me, it was no different from what Verstappen did. So...
This decision on the last race was a direct reaction to the fans not wanting to see that sort of stuff happen. They just want to see the drivers deal with it.
Yeah.
And
exactly what we've been saying all along as far as Australian racing goes in supercars.
Just let the drivers sort it out, mate. They know exactly what's going on and not. And it swings and roundabouts. Sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windscreen. You know?
We like that one. That should be another one of your sayings.
Yeah, probably should be.
All right. Now, it's not anything new because roll back to 2018 with an incident between Vettel and Hamilton as well. Now, this didn't get penalised well. Let's have a look at some vision there of that one as well. It's actually really, really interesting. So they're coming up. This is Hamilton coming up on Vettel. Gets in the toe. Look at Vettel. Whoa, like nearly just shoves him straight in the fence, like doing some serious speed as well.
Yep.
No penalty for that one. So again, it's nothing new.
No.
It's nothing new on that one.
Shut him down.
Yeah, just shut him down. So, you know, there's no way if they penalised Verstappen on Leclerc, when you roll back to 18, it's like they set a precedent there. If you're just allowed to push a dude into the wall, well, mate, that's life.
That's racing. It's just what it is.
Yeah, exactly right. So
that's why people watch it.
So unfortunately for Vettel, he still got dudded, that Canadian GP. He still got dudded out of that one, big time. Shouldn't have got that penalty. All right, dude, let's roll on to Motogp as well. There's been 3 burst rounds. So the racing this year has been insane. You're a massive Motogp fan, as am I. What I really like about it is how many manufacturers have been up there. You know, Ducati, Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, they've all been up there. They've all had podiums and just been a really competitive championship this year.
Yeah, for me, look, I'm a fan. So when I turn around and watch it, I'm on the couch. I'm like, what am I going to see? I don't know who's going to win. So I'm tuned in. I don't know what manufacturer's going to win, and I'm really not sure what rider's going to be up there and what's going to be happening. So it's something I really enjoy to watch because of that.
And how good is, I mean, we say it all the time, Marc Marquez. The guy's just such a freak.
He's just in another level.
It's a bit like a Scott McLaughlin on 2 wheels, isn't it? Like they just keep getting better and better.
Yeah.
And just an amazing rider. Like, and his fitness is incredible.
What about Remy Gardner's pole position? I was devastated he didn't convert that. Hey, it was just.
He got beat up a fair bit.
Yeah, he did. It was, but see how he bounces back. But it was bloody devastating. It was a great Australian moment. I thought, all right, we're on here, we're on here. And then it was just heartbreaking.
And he was quick in all the practice sessions, and to put it on pole, man, that's pretty good. Because Moto2's super competitive. There's some serious riders in there, like serious riders.
It is competitive. Do you reckon that's what's hurting Jack Miller, not having that? He went from Moto3 straight to MotoGP, not having that bit of time in Moto2. Do you reckon it's?
I thought it was a big jump. I was very surprised that he didn't go through Moto2.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the level of competition and the speed difference between Moto3. That's why I think Jack at the moment. You think of his first couple of seasons in MotoGP, man, he threw it down the road a fair bit.
Yeah.
Because you learn a lot.
So he's got to get a move on now. Some of those Moto2 guys, which they're starting to feed in, could just push him back out. So that'll be interesting to watch.
Leads me perfectly into a ride I want to talk about, Fabio Quartararo.
Yeah, what the system.
Whoa. And he came out of the Moto2 series.
Yeah.
Man, he's just lobbed onto the scene and gone bang. Like, I'm here. Super quick in over a 1 lap as well. I think his racecraft is still a little bit lacking, but he gets smashed up a little bit. Not as bad as Jack did, but you're right. I think that experience through Moto2's really paid off. But
sharpened him, honed his skills.
Matt, how good is he?
It's good to see. It's exciting.
For someone to come in. Funny enough, some of his results in the lower categories were okay, but you know, nothing special. But it's funny how I see it can be either in 4 wheels or 2. Someone that just comes along and they've gone okay, then they just get in one particular category and they just shine. It just suits their style or their riding or driving style.
And you're always learning, and people learn at different levels. Like I see that here all the time when we're training young drivers, that some people get it very quickly, some people take a little bit more time, and the quicker guys sometimes stall out. So it's just how you learn and how you adapt.
Yeah, but he's definitely a star, and I think, funny enough, Marc Marquez, I think, is looking over his shoulder a bit and going, this kid's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Like he's coming at me. But that's what I like about Marquez. Like, he hasn't shied away from it. He said, good, there's someone coming that's actually going to give me a run for my money, because I think he's a racer.
Yeah, he wants to be pushed.
He wants to be pushed. And Cal Crutchlow finished 3rd in the
good to see
in
him
the last
there.
meeting. Yeah, I always thought
He reminds
in
me
the
a lot
German
of you.
GP. He's a rough-looking dude, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a fighter, you know.
He's a funny sort of guy. Every time you see a picture of him, it looks like he's just rolled out of a pub. Like, he's scruffy hair, he's got a beard, you know, and he's a bit... Yeah, but geez, he's a scrapper. And I always thought he should have got the Honda ride. Like, I'm not much of a Lorenzo fan. I reckon he's a bit soft around the cheeks. You know, so I reckon Crutchlow should have got... He's on the LCR, which is a privateer sort of factory-backed Honda.
Yeah.
He should have got the main ride. I reckon he's a
something
steerer.
to do with how many motorcycles they sell in Spain, but
Yeah, that's true.
big motorcycle market.
Yeah, big politics. But
Yeah.
I'd love to see him on a factory ride. I reckon he's half a scrapper. Great personality too, because like I said, he looks like he's someone to roll out of a pub and get in a bit of a scrap. So he's a good dude. So I reckon it's been really good racing. Moto 3, Moto 2, Motogp, all the racing's been fantastic. So that's going to continue on for the rest of the year. Hopefully Jack Miller will get up there on the podium. He's knocking on the door. He's been the fastest Ducati for quite a bit this year. So
Yeah, he's just right there. It's just the last piece of the puzzle, and let's all get behind him and make sure we support him.
Absolutely, along with Remy Gardner as well.
Yeah.
Right, let's roll straight into it. We've got a very special guest.
We have.
A controversial one.
He is.
As well. So we
Here we go.
knock on the door.
Yeah.
That was a pretty soft knock too, by the way.
I found you.
God, did you get lost?
You're straight from the airport.
Just got back from Japan, mate. Straight down here.
Everyone, Roland Dane. How are you going? How are you, mate?
Jet lagged.
Jet lagged? Yeah.
really.
What's the time difference?
No, it's only an hour.
Where you been?
Not that soft. Japan. We were racing at Fuji in the Blancpain Asia GT at the weekend. Yeah.
Got a podium?
Got a podium on Sunday. It's P2 in the Pro-Am. Yep, happy days.
You enjoying that?
I love it. I love it. It's good, different circuits. Some I haven't been to at all. Some I have. Some I've got memories of racing there myself 100 years ago, or being there with Derek Warwick in F1 or sports cars, and remembering the same old drinking places that we used to go to. But learning a hell of a lot as well about the GT car.
So there's some big racing in Asia, isn't there? Oh,
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah.
It's getting bigger and bigger as well. I mean, it's 2.5 billion people, so it's always going to be a bit bigger than here.
And not far away. So
Correct.
it's easy to operate up there, isn't it?
Exactly.
Logistically from your base here and dealing with people. So.
Yep. Yeah. No, I love it.
Now we've got. Firstly, I was actually googling a bit of your history. You've actually had a fair bit of experience racing bikes.
I wouldn't call it experience.
I didn't say you're any good.
wasn't.
I said you've experienced it, but you've had a fair run. Hence your passion
He was
for
the king of
bikes.
the two-strokes, mate.
No, I love two-stroke bikes, and when I started riding, when I was 17, there was a thing called the Triumph Tiger Cub, which was a 4-stroke single-cylinder shitter, and you get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, put it in an old transit van, drive to Snetterton, which you know is you've both been there, but in the middle of nowhere in East Anglia, in the turnip fields. And you get there at 6 in the morning, and you go out and have one practice session. It would break down after 2 laps, and you'd be going home, right? So I hated those things. And then got invented Yamaha and 250s and things that you could strip and build in an evening in front of the TV at home in London, and then take to the track, and they'd run all day, You could do 6, 7 races, etc. You know, no qualifying, just draw your grid position out of a hat.
Castrol R oil, probably.
Yep. good smell.
I love that smell.
That smell was all part of it. And go racing, get a full day of racing, and the only thing that stopped you was when you fell off, rather than the bike breaking.
Yep.
So those were great days. But I was a member of the Self-Preservation Club, and a lot of the people I was racing against were not. They had no fear of mortality whatsoever. You know, they were just they were flat, and I wasn't.
So you enjoyed those days on the bike?
No, I loved it, but I just wasn't quick enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, unless you admit it. So, you never went to four wheels?
Yeah. Then I went to four wheels.
I was
Yeah. No, then I had a lot of
specialist, mate.
Yeah.
Well, the only way that I could win in single make categories, you know, like Ford Fiesta or CRX, and I never actually won one of those races, but I finished top 6 quite a few times. Either when it was wet, being the only person in the paddock who could afford new tyres.
Or there's motivation to make some money right there, isn't it?
Or on a dry race, having a stunning first lap, right, and then driving with the doors open.
Yeah.
So, but I learnt a lot, met a lot of people, enjoyed it, and actually probably the most fun though was doing Group N racing in Japan and in the UK, where I did win a few races and some podiums, and did 24-hour races at Snetterton in those days. You know, the Wilhard 24-hour race.
Oh yeah.
That sort of thing, and that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed those cars a lot because they were longer races and you had more chance to think and use your head.
Because I think that's an important thing, and why we wanted to get you in here is because, I mean, you know, to the punters in Australia, all they see is a Roland Dane, they see on camera, or, you know, politicking and everything else that goes on with it, which you know how to do very well. But they don't know that you've done a lot of racing, both on 2 and 4 wheels, and I think it's important for everyone to realise you actually did it.
I was only ever an enthusiastic amateur.
Well,
mate.
you still did it.
You still did it. And the analogy I make, most really good race teams are run by people that drove or rode.
By races.
Yeah, well, the big thing I like about Roland, he understands the driver's perspective very, very well, and always gets the most out of his drivers because he knows if in the right situation and what each driver needs, and he just doesn't put them in a box. He knows they all tick differently and all need different needs and wants. And
yeah, I didn't know what he needed when he put it in the wall at Bathurst in '98.
You never
on the bollocking.
You reckon I don't let things go? Right? You don't reckon I let things go just because I totaled one of his Astras, everyone?
No, it was a Vectra.
Vauxhall Vectra.
Well,
it was a Holden.
Vectra. It was a Holden.
Badge on it.
And
exactly.
It made the
he's
race, didn't it?
never
No, it was in the race. It was during the race.
during the race.
Oh, was it?
During the race. No, it was Brocky who
Rolled it.
Well, lap 1 and
Yeah.
practice 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that
The year
was,
before.
So was that the first time you come to Australia for that race?
Not the first. No, the first time I came was
Grand Prix,
to
obviously.
Adelaide to the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Back in the '80s. But the first time to race was '97 with the 2
First time to
thing.
Bathurst?
First time I met you. First time I met Terry.
Yeah.
Etc. First time I met this one. I think I'd met Murph before in Europe because he'd been over doing a couple of tests, etc. And Steve Giles, you know.
Yeah.
Ex McLaren mechanic
Yep.
Kiwi. He'd worked for me when he first came over to Europe, and then he knew Murph and etc. So you know, it was an opportunity to reconnect and meet a load of people.
So are you so good in politicking in supercars because you're a used car dealer in UK? Not too many people know that. You're a used car dealer. That was your gig.
Some of the cars are very mildly used. Others are less more used. But
Never did.
I've been in the car.
Never did any clocking, did you?
I've been in. I couldn't tell you what that is. I don't know what you're talking about. Haircut, you mean?
Yeah, haircut. Yeah, that was it.
When I left school, I went to work in the car business for Panther, which was a small company making very expensive handmade cars. And I worked for them for many years, and then I started working for myself in '86. And my company that I set up then deals in cars around the right-hand drive countries in the world, and still does, although we're much smaller today over there than we used to be 20 years ago, and the company was much bigger. Trading around the world in cars, just like Frank Williams was, you know, back in the day, or Bernie Ecclestone was, or whatever. You know, it's a lot of people in motor racing who came out of the car business.
Sort of helps though, I think, doesn't it? Flogging to used cars, like trying to...
Oh, you like cars somewhere.
Yeah.
You like the environment, you like the...
Dealing with people.
Yeah, and to be honest, if you don't stand by your word in that business, you see it ended upside down in the river.
Yeah.
You know, you had to stand by your word back in the day and deliver. So it taught you some pretty good etiquette as well.
Can I just say is that we get a lot of comments that they say Paul's biased towards you, right? You two are mates, right? You're biased.
Yep.
But I think what everyone, and this is why we wanted to get you on the show, because at the end of the day, you're a very polarising figure. People either hate you or love you, or somewhere in between and just don't know.
Yeah.
But I think the relationship with you and Paul, it's more that he respects what you do. So there's difference between, you know, just liking someone because they're, you know, a popular figure, or liking someone because you respect them. And so I think that's what people have to get their heads around.
Look, honestly...
Is that fair? From your side?
Yeah, well, we don't agree on everything.
No, this cost-cutting stuff, I have to have a word with them later.
But you're not being biased. You're not being biased. You actually respect what he's achieved.
Yeah, 100%. There's lots of things I like about Roland, and the way he goes about racing is taking it to another level in Australia, and it's taken a billionaire to beat him.
Basically, well, I mean, because we get a lot of comments through here about that. Oh, it's the Roland, you know, it's a Triple Eight Supercars racing, or it's Roland, you know, manages and runs everything. But I think there has to be a defined line between you're running a race team and the whole objective is to win races.
Correct.
And you got to do everything within the rules to do that.
Russell, you know, honestly, whether people like me or don't like me, honestly, to be honest, I've got enough very good friends in the world, in Australia and in Europe and in America, that I'm not worried of whether people love me or hate me.
He's not going to run out of mates.
So I'm not going to run out of mates in a hurry, I can promise you. But what we all look for, you know, whether it's you as a driver or now, you know, as a broadcaster or whatever, whether it's Paul as a driver and now operating Norwell and looking after young drivers, is a bit of respect where it should be shown, right?
Yep.
And the fact is that in late '03, I came to Australia with prepared to invest a little bit of money, right? Not a lot, but a little bit of money, and back myself. And luckily I had a couple of mates who were prepared to back me as well, right? In looking for an opportunity here. But we went out and got all our money from sponsorship sources in Australia, right? Which is available to anyone. So anyone could have gone and worked on getting Vodafone in, or Red Bull, or getting Ford on board and then latterly Holden, etc. They're all available. I wasn't using any external money. I wasn't using anything that, you know, I'd made hundreds of millions over here and then using it here. That wasn't the case at all. So, and we built it, Triple Eight, along with a lot of good people on the back of the same opportunities were available to anyone. So I don't think I have to apologise to anyone for doing the best job over the last 15 years in the sport. And I don't apologise to anyone, we're just doing our job. That's what we're there for. That's what the sponsors expect. That's what the people who work on the team expect. And yeah, it might not suit everyone all the time, but that's not my job.
It's a fair answer. I mean, at the end of the day, if I was driving for you, I'd want you to do everything I can to give me the best opportunity to win races and win championships.
And have enough money to pay you.
Most importantly, in my case, most importantly.
Correct.
Be profitable. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Now, we want to know more about you and everything else, but we have to talk a little bit about Supercar land, because let's face it, let's not gloss over it. Like every motorsport category in the world is going through a bit of a rough trot because of sponsorship and overspending in categories, and that's one thing we've addressed the last 2 episodes of this show. Where do you see it heading? I mean, is there going to be some major changes in the next 2 years, or there has to be major changes?
So the first thing that I always say is that don't talk ourselves into a hole, right? The fact is that we have still got, and this comes home to me every time, including this last trip when I was in Japan at the weekend. Every time you step outside Australia and you talk amongst motor racing people, then they remind you that they're all jealous of what we've got.
Yeah,
down.
they're envious of our,
right?
of our racing and our cars. And
correct,
yeah.
of the cars, the setup, the team's involvement in it all, etc. Yeah, they're envious of the whole package, some of the circuits we have, and etc. So let's not talk ourselves down completely, because there was a very telling moment on Friday at Fuji. In practice, there's no rule that says you have to wear mechanics overalls, you have to wear overalls and helmets. But so we weren't wearing them on Friday rather, in practice. But the race director called our team manager up to the box and said, look, guys, the pit lane's pretty busy, 30 odd cars. Everyone looks at you guys as an example, looks at Triple Eight as an example, and it helped me persuading everyone without having to make a rule change to get you, if you wear overalls and helmets on Fridays as well, please, in future. We said, yeah, okay, no problem, no skin off our nose. And because I just want to make the environment as safe as possible, and some loose cannons out there. But they respect you and they respect where you're from, even though we've only been there for 4 races. So that tells me a lot about how Australian motorsport and supercars, because that's what they all see is supercars. It's the big thing in Australia, as they all know, and they all hold it in high esteem. So let's not shoot ourselves down completely. Now, on the other hand, what have we got to do? We have to do what every business has to do, is you have to cut your cloth according to the market. And the market today is different from the market from 10 years ago, right? So the days of being able to pay people like you too much money as a driver, because you were overpaid, have gone.
Thank you.
Right? Those have gone. So the days of being able to get some of the sponsorship deals we were able to get as a category, across the category, have gone, whether it's permanently or temporarily, I can't tell you, but it's not as available, that level of sponsorship, as it used to be. That's for several reasons, not least of which because the economy in Australia is not quite as buoyant as it used to be, right? There's no question that we haven't had a technical recession, but we've had, by the same token, it's not firing on the 10 cylinders, if you like, that it was when the resource boom or the infrastructure boom, rather, and behind the resourcing sector was at its strength, in Gladstone and in Western Australia, etc. So it's not quite as strong. Then you've got a whole load of other pressures, like women's sport, like Big Bash cricket coming in and taking money out of what is a small market. And it isn't a question of whether I like that or don't like it. It's just reality. I can't control it. It's there. So those things are pressures on us and mean that we have to cut our cloth according to what we can afford. And so we do need some trimming around the edges. We do need to look at quality, not quantity. Quality of racing. And I think that's where Formula One is going to make a massive error in going for too many races. People get fatigued. They want to watch quality.
That's right. It's
Not
like the
quantity.
show. It's not on every week for a reason, mate, because it's quality.
Quality, not quantity.
But look at golf. There's golf tournaments every weekend.
Yeah.
But people don't watch them.
Right, yeah.
They watch the big ones. The same with tennis.
So what's the ideal amount of races we should be having here in Australia?
Here, 12 or 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, which still makes us as big as any other national motorsport in the world, apart from NASCAR and IndyCar, which is in a 325 different market.
You can make money over there racing a lawnmower.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And like I said, I wanted to specify that it's just not only here that has to reduce costs. I mean, everyone's looking at, when you read at articles about NASCAR, what they're doing for their 2021 car. Reduce. I mean, I read an article from, it was actually came through Tilton, who was a supplier, who's quoted on components for NASCAR, that they say they want to reduce costs as much as 80%. Roger Penske did an interview not that long ago in Autosport magazine, and he said, look, we can go out and run an IndyCar team a moderate team for 3 to 4 million. Even a winning team is 7 to 8 million.
Yeah.
It's 30 per car.
Yeah.
It's $30 million per car for NASCAR.
Yeah.
For a stock car.
30 million for a stock car.
It's not really stock.
30 million. So that's what he's saying. Even Roger Penske's saying, hey, this is out of control. Like, NASCAR has to come back.
It is, but that's their problem. Our problem is a little bit different. We've got our own environment to deal with, and we need to make sure that we concentrate on the quality aspects and what people want to watch, like the racing at Townsville. You know, it was okay. The weather intervened and everything, but it was still a great show. And I was watching it, you know, online.
Sunday was good.
Yeah. I was watching it. Saturday I was busy racing, so I didn't see it.
Saturday race was pretty average, but Sunday.
But so are a lot of football games. Nobody's saying that football's screwed. You know, a lot of football games are boring, right?
Yeah.
So not every race is going to be a blockbuster.
Yeah.
But you just want to concentrate on the quality and producing good racing on a regular basis, and then you keep your fan
So
base
what do you
happy.
pick up, Paul, from Sunday?
Well,
Sunday's
always,
race with the
rain always makes good racing, but
But why?
All the grip goes away, and the drivers that can drive find a way to the front. Yeah, the driver can make the difference.
But there's your pointer straight away, in my opinion anyway, of where it should be going in the future.
Trimming some downforce out.
Trimming downforce down.
I don't think you get an
Tyres
argument
with
from Roland.
No,
for that.
absolutely, because I reckon wet weather is your definite indicator straight away. Sunday's race was fantastic.
Sure.
No grip, longer braking distances.
No, but just again, be careful what you take out of it, because it isn't no grip. It's variable grip. That's the thing that made the difference. Not no grip. It's the grip varied from corner to corner, from lap to lap.
Yep.
That's what makes it. So if you just have low grip, everyone will get used to the low grip, right?
Yep.
It's the fact that it's varying during the race that changed it. So if you talk to Shane or Fabian or Chaz or De Pasquale, you know, all those guys who were at the front of that race, I'm sure they'll tell you the same. Oh, I didn't know if I was the pioneer.
Well, they all arrived at running off the road at some
correct,
stage, didn't they?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that made the difference, not the low grip per se. It's the actual fact that it was varying. Now, having said that, anything you can do to extend braking distances then will almost certainly help the racing, because the shorter the braking, I mean, take it to F1 is the limit. You know, the braking distances are this long. After 150 kilometres an hour straight, and they're braking in that length. It's crazy. So the majority of the difference between an average driver like you and a great one was in the braking, right?
Did you throw it straight over his head?
Yeah, it did. No. I should know. But thanks for your vote of confidence, by the way. Yeah.
But it's actually the braking, isn't it?
Yeah. So absolutely.
We've said it before.
You got to make that longer.
Great opportunity.
You got to make that longer.
Exactly. So, and if you can make if you can then make the braking distances a bit longer, but give the opportunity for a few more errors in there, because you haven't suddenly got 150 kilos extra downforce on the front of the car when you smash your foot on the brake. So you've got to modulate more. You've got to modulate the pedal more. That'll bring out the skill. And so I'm 100% behind less downforce. I just want to bring it in a way which doesn't cost us a fortune in the short term. So it's probably necessary to take a couple of bites at it to try and do it in a way which gets us there, but in a way which doesn't cost the teams too much money. And if we can do that over the next 2 or 3 years, then that'll help. It could actually help costs as well, but it certainly should help the racing.
Well, you'd be happy about taking downforce off the Mustang, because you reckon it's got twice the amount as your cars, isn't it?
Yeah, not quite twice as much, but yeah.
Have a whinge. Hey, thanks for it's been great finally getting you on and talking about all this, but you don't get let off that easy.
Right.
We didn't pay you to come on here. You don't even get a free beer.
No,
no.
I knew that.
So you get,
I'm talking to you.
So you know that, but part of the deal is you got to bring in a vehicle,
Yep.
a vehicle that reflects your personality. That was a request and the requirement for coming on this show. So you've brought something in. We don't know what it is. So we're going to head out to the skid pan right now, and you're going to make the big reveal on what car Roland Dane's personality is.
Oh, I'll just bring that.
He's got a split personality. He's probably got 2 cars.
It's probably got,
I might have more than 2.
He's definitely got a split personality, I can tell you. So let's head on out there and let's go have a look. Okay, dude, what do you reckon Roland Dane has brought for his car that shows his personality?
I know he's got a couple of Camaros, like a 67, and he's got one of the new ones as well. I reckon it's muscle car.
I reckon it's going to be a motorbike. He's a big motorbike fan. I reckon he's going to bring 2 wheels. Well, let's see. Let's see what he brings, all right? Jeez, nice. Well done.
Jeez.
I was halfway in between. You said I said Camaro. You said motorcycle. And he brings a 3-wheeler.
3-wheeler.
Exactly.
Well, give us the story behind this, Roland. What's the deal?
Well, you always
your
say that I'm just a second-hand car dealer.
Yeah.
So a little bit of Del Boy in me.
Right. Tell boy.
Only fools and horses.
This is incredible.
But this is the Royale version, you see.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's the Royale.
It's the Royale.
Oh, okay.
See?
Yeah. What's the Royale got? Gold wheels
It's got the gold mini light look-alike.
and the pinstripe.
Right? And the aerial.
Okay.
Somewhere here. Here's the aerial. See?
Yeah.
So, and a heated rear window. So when you push it, your hands don't get cold.
That's great. Well, I never would have picked that one. What's the story with the gravel race? Because
Yeah, so that's the marketing director of Holden,
yeah,
who got sacked after this.
okay, right.
Put it on its side
Yeah, it looks like
a
it
year or
hit,
two ago.
looks like it hit pretty hard.
Yeah, did.
So how long you had this for?
Oh, a few years. I brought it over here to just give me a reminder of Pommy Land.
You should drive that, Russ.
Yeah, you need to drive it.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Well, it's not a question, it's an order.
Okay, I've never driven one before.
Yeah.
Have you had a go, dude? You had a go before?
Yeah, I've actually had
Look
a
at the
go.
door handle shaved down there. She's had a few scrapes. All right, okay. Do I need a helmet?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. We get kitted up.
That might need a push start.
Oh, okay.
Okay, trying to save fuel.
Yeah.
See if it.
Good. Adjust the seat. Oh.
Yep, adjustable seat.
Okay.
What's with the helmet?
Yeah, just safety, mate.
Yeah.
Safety first.
Oh, right.
Normally I'm the one on the...
Okay, put it in
Ready?
second gear.
Second gear.
Yep.
You good?
Now go.
Do you reckon he'll roll it?
Hopefully.
He might have. Huh? He's obviously done that before. Might have sailed catamarans.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, he lived in London for a while.
Probably had
He
one.
probably had one. When he was on the Formula Ford program,
Yeah.
he probably used one. He's trying to pretend he never has, but yeah, no, he's done it before.
No, he's had one of those.
He's done it before. He's going to Gary Holt and put it in the ditch. Careful. Shane wants to weld up the diff, by the
Oh
way.
yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, just need a spot weld on
Yeah.
the diff.
Oh, mate.
We
So
reckon you've done that
stay there,
before.
Ross. Just stay there.
Oh, you got...
Just stay there. We'll talk to you while you're in the car.
Yeah.
Well, we just want to talk you through. Push.
You idiots. Seriously, you lot?
That's the C of G.
It's a CNG test now, mate.
Is this centre of gravity? You idiots. Seriously.
Oh, I knew I'd get him back.
Yeah, centre of gravity's good. Here it is. Roland Dane, as I knew it would be. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Look at the door mirror.
Oh, God, hang on.
Put it out.
Got
Oh, that's better.
God. I'll tell you what. It's been good fun. Thanks, mate. Thanks for coming down. Bloody awesome.
You're welcome.
We knew it was going to be a laugh.
You're welcome, mate.
Cool.
Unbelievable.
Can I have my helmet back?
No,
Yeah.
I can't get it off.
You never could get it
Just
off.
be careful driving home too.
Oh dear. That was classic.
Nice one.
Good, eh?
He's a character, Roland, and like I said, love him or hate him, he's got some stories.
Yeah, he's a car guy, mate, and loves the sport and loves everything to do with it. And his perception to the general public is not who he is. So it's cool to show that side of him for sure.
Well, hopefully they have, and hopefully people have a different opinion of Roland Dane, and you know,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you what, he's got some cool cars, and yeah, that was one of them. But anyway, let's get on with the next segment, which is part 2 of our version of Supercars cost cutting as well. So this is a really interesting part, and one we're going to really get our teeth into. So let's get over there.
Coming here, mate.
Well, dude, the Norwell Motorplex engine shop.
Yeah, there's been a few motors building here in the days. This is actually the BMW Motorsport engine shop back in the mid-90s. So
Everything from 4-cylinder to 8-cylinder has
Yeah,
been
it's
through
seen it
this
all,
joint as
yeah.
well. Now, I'm really excited about doing this part of it because these little units here, when I say little, the power plants for supercars, man, hasn't there been some money blown developing and keeping these things alive over the years?
there has been, it's always been an arms race within the engine. It's not called motorsport for nothing. There's a reason why it's called motorsport. And you know, when the teams were all drunk on manufacturer money, it was okay. You could pour money into this stuff, but now it's out of control. There's way better alternatives out there.
Now, to have a bit of a rundown on these units, now, I liken it a bit like in part 1, we talked about the chassis and only 75% of it was controlled
Yep.
instead of 100%. It's a bit like the engines as well, because even though some components are controlled, there is parts of it that are open. Things like the inlet manifold here as well. That's pretty well open slather.
Yeah, it's open slather. So the block and the cylinder head is a control part, but you can port that however you want. All teams have different port. It matches up with what the inlet manifold is, and you just keep going and going and going. Like you know, even the rocker covers are just engineering masturbation. So there's just stuff going on everywhere.
Absolutely. And how many inlet manifolds? I mean, you know yourself, since you've been in the game, and teams that I've been involved with as well, how many different types of inlet manifolds have come in and out the...
Yeah, you just keep evolving, and you want the power
machine
and
shop,
different stuff. But you know, everyone's pretty locked down and maximised everything they can get out of this now. So
I mean, they make good horsepower for a 5 litre. They make good horsepower, very linear power as well.
yeah, and they just evolved. But that's, if you want a new one of them, you're 120 grand.
I thought it was up near 150 at one
Well,
stage,
depends
wasn't
who
it? Depending on who you do it with.
Who you're dealing with, but yeah, somewhere between
Wow.
that. But conservatively,
Yeah.
about 120 grand worth of customised parts.
And each team has a minimum of 2, possibly 3
Yeah,
per car.
Yeah, you need 2 per car, but most teams that have 3, you got to have a spare or access to a spare in a pool.
So that'd be anywhere between $350 to $450,000 just in capital of engines.
Yep.
Before
Just
you
to-
even go racing.
Before you even go racing, you've got that capital cost.
Okay. Now, the thing that blows me away about these race engines, as technical as they are, is the rebuilds. I mean, they say 4,000 kilometres, but most teams are around 2,500 kilometres before they rebuild the engines if they want to stay at the top. I'm sure the top teams are doing that. Cost for rebuilding one of these?
A 4,000k service, you're around 40 grand. So, you know, if you've got your own engine shop, obviously it's a bit cheaper, but you still got have the cost of running the engine shop. But if you're a team like Charlie Schwelkelt and he drops his engine up there, or a development series team which has the same engine,
Yep.
if you're running a Commodore in the development series and drop your engine up to KRE, you're 40 grand.
But for the average person that's looking at this, getting their head around that they take this engine in at, like I said, between 2,500 to 4,000 and spend $40,000 on a rebuild, that would just blow people's minds. They couldn't get their head around is so expensive.
As again, you said, mate, it's the price of a good family road car.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
I mean, that's. I mean, you can see why teams are hemorrhaging here when they've got this sort of expense in just the engine part alone, just in the engine unit.
Yeah, and for sort of, the controls on the engine are pretty open, and for what it is, it's not that expensive. But technology's moved on, and the crate engine stuff you can buy off the shelf now is there and makes the same power.
And what's the power on the average one of these engines?
Mid 600s, mid 600s, depending on what dyno you're on, but they're all about there now.
And this is supposed to be there's a cap on the horsepower.
Oh, it's a power figure that all the teams have got to meet. So
it looks different. It looks different on track. I know handling's got a lot to do with it, and the car and all the rest of it. But where you make that power is changeable, though, isn't it? Like you can change the power torque of the engine.
Well, we do. And with our Super 2 car, we change the inlet manifold runner length and varying on what track you're doing, and move the torque curve around.
So to move, even though you're supposedly capped in power output, you can change the power torque of that, which means an added cost. Because if you've got different inlet manifolds or you've got different ways to configure the engine, there's still a cost because you've got to change all that.
Yeah, and you're always mapping the engine, and there's closed loop mapping now where the engine will map itself. Like, technology's moved on. These aren't fly-by-wire. We should have fly-by-wire technology if we want OEM relevance. So there's lots of reasons to move away from this old engine, pushrod engine. The number one is the cost, but then technology's there as well, which the team should be embracing.
Right, so is there an alternative?
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Right, okay. Just so happens, in this cupboard, now this is a Ford Coyote engine.
Yeah, so that's built and developed here, coincidentally for our Mark car program. Okay. So 620 horsepower, $40,000 capital cost to build it. So we take the stock engine and change the rods, the pistons, some camshafts, for performance manifold, but still factory bought. And 620 horsepower. It's also got a custom sump on it. Does 10,000 Ks before it needs a service. So, it's basically the same power output.
So why would you, if you're within 20 or 30 horsepower of the engine they're using now, service life is just about tripled.
Yep.
Get 10,000 Ks out of a service, and the capital cost is a third. Why aren't you looking at this? Like, why wouldn't you go? It's just an absolute no-brainer.
It is a no-brainer. Again, it's someone making the hard decision and saying that's what we're going to do, because it won't. About 6 months, you got your money back. So
just in rebuild costs.
Yeah, you're doing 14,000 kilometres a year, most car, by the time it does testing, racing, ride days, does all that. So at about $10 a kilometre to run that engine, and this engine's $2 a kilometre.
Well, at one rebuild cost of the current engine would pay for that engine.
Pay for that engine. So you
just a rebuild.
You just throw it in the bin if you want it, and you're way in front.
It's just, I can't get my head around it. And considering Chevrolet do a crate engine as well, if they wanted to have two, really ideally, you'd just have one engine. Yeah, well, if GM Performance have got heaps of crate engines for every different sort of manufacturing racing you want to do, whether it's dirt or late models, or even the stadium trucks have got a GM crate engine that makes 640 horsepower or something. So, it's got to be looked at. It's something the teams need to move away from. But the biggest advantage of this thing is the fly-by-wire throttle. Yeah, instead of cable.
Which the car of the future has got the ability to do that, but that means changing all that manifold. But then you can do all safe. You can do your pit lane speed limit. You can do parity off the e-throttle. So if you want to paritize the engines, if you have a GM engine and you have a Ford engine and the output's different, you can just paritize it off the
throttle percentage.
Yeah,
so give it 95% instead of 100.
95%.
Yeah, right.
If you get to a track and you think the cars are going too fast, you can just make all the cars run at less throttle opening.
You could actually make it remote. So if there's a yellow car, yellow flag situation or pace car.
Safety's the big thing now, and if you're on race control and there's a drama on the track and you can push a button and slow all the cars down to a speed, that can be done.
Remotely, easily.
Done remotely, yeah.
And it's done in other categories too.
Yeah,
so,
it is.
So it's not like it's anything new
No,
as well.
no, they're not pioneers in that
again, a
area.
no-brainer. To me, it's a bit like we spoke about the chassis in part one of this cost cutting, was that, it's a bit like the uprights. For the guy and the punter and their family sitting up watching the racing, who cares what's under the bonnet? They just want to see good racing.
They just want to see good racing, and that's where we come from. If you go back to Group C, Group A days, it was a manufacturer-based motor, and we've gone away from to a custom engine, and we need to get back to this.
Let me throw a curveball at you. Okay, say, right, for instance, right, they don't want to go away from it. They want to keep it manufacturer-based. They still want to run the Nissan, the Chev, the Ford, right? I remember back in the SBR days, right, when I was there, they had a ride car. It was a 3-seater, right, ride car. And
Stroker, was it?
Yeah, they got a 5 litre. They bought it out, so it was piston, rods, and crank. Made it 7 litre, revved it to 5.5 or 5,500 RPM.
Yep.
It was just a ride car, right?
Yep.
That thing pounded around for years. Like
heaps of torque.
Yeah, heaps of torque. Didn't rev. It would lap exactly the same lap time as a supercar with 3 punters in the thing. Like, I had plenty of torque, no problem, sounded good, did everything right, but that nearly did about 10,000 Ks before they even touched the thing.
Because it wasn't stressed.
It wasn't stressed, didn't have the revs, still sounded good. So for a set of rods, crank and pistons in a current engine, it'd be an easy changeover.
That could be a
10
thing.
grand it's
but
fixed.
You're going to move away from the 5 litre formula, which doesn't matter anymore.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter anymore.
Doesn't matter. So if they wanted to stick with that, there's still alternatives.
Yeah, but your crank rods and pistons are going to be more expensive than that.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally that's it, but I'm just thinking as an alternative. But this is something they should have looked at years ago. I mean, like I said, Stone Brothers, who made that, actually mentioned to Supercars, hey, we've got this ride car, and we don't touch this engine. It just pounds around. We do a bit to the rockers now and then, and that's it. But it just seemed over the top of the heads, and and bang.
Too busy racing each other, mate.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Well, we shaved. So what do we shaved off there? Per car per year, 150. Oh no, more than that.
Yeah, well, capital costs alone, you're 80 grand versus 280.
Yep.
For 2 engines, and at 14,000 Ks a year, there's 140 grand a year to maintain that, and 28 grand a year to maintain that.
So we're gonna save, even with capital costs included, like you're probably up near 350,000.
Yeah.
Bang, ka-ching.
Bang. We might get a race team back.
I think we might. If they go to this, we'll start racing again.
We would.
Make a comeback.
But you would, mate. You would. Yeah. If this all got involved, I'd be straight back in the game.
There you go. A few others too.
I want to race. I want to race on the track. I don't want to get in an arms race with engines.
Yeah. Well, look. There's one other thing. Is tyres. Let's go have a look, because tyres is another massive cost. So let's go and have a look. Now, dude, this is another massive expense as well. Is tyres. I can't believe all these black round things that's in here. This is just for your Super 3 car.
Yeah, so this is our tyre bank. There's some stuff there from the Super 2, but it's a tyre bank you've got to manage, and it's a human resource that costs a lot of money to do. So, scrap it, cars turn up to the track with new tyres on, the fans get to see who's actually fastest.
So this is, like you said, this is just Super 2, Super 3.
Yeah.
So for a main game team, they've got huge warehouses or cool rooms.
They've all got climate controlled rooms now where they store their tyres, and there's a full-time guy. Some teams have probably got 2 just managing that tyre bank to work out what tyres they're going to use. They measure the tread depths, they measure the kilometres, they store them properly.
Because they got this ridiculous rule that you've got to run around on old tyres.
You got to test on old tyres, and you got old tyres for practice. So to sort through that and what's good and what's bad is a big cost. But even though you do that and you try and get it right, sometimes you just get a goofy tyre, don't you? And you get a bad read on the car,
and throws it out.
And you're just throwing everything out the thing. So just get rid of all that shit. Don't take them home; they're done. Scrap them, turn up to the track, put new tyres on, go out the gate, and the people sitting on the hill or watching on TV will know who the fastest is. Because P1 they go, oh, I didn't have tyres. Who's up the front?
Everyone's on the same tyre.
You haven't got to read.
So and that way you're just karting around the rims themselves. You're not karting around the tyres. So transport's going to be easier. So you just get the rims, fit them
bring them
up on the
home,
track.
clean them, crack test them, whatever you do. Get ready, and then as soon as you get to the track on the weekend, put your tyres on and go.
And that poor guy that spends all his weeks rummaging around on these old tyres, picking the good ones, bad, stacking them, storaging them, turning them on the rims, all the rest of it, he can actually get on and do something useful.
Yep.
I'm sure he'd be pretty happy about it too.
Yeah, it's a wasted resource.
So
it's a false economy, mate.
And cost-wise, there probably wouldn't be much in it. It'd probably actually be cheaper.
It'd be cheaper, 100% cheaper, because the most expensive thing in a race team is your labour cost.
So maintaining this, opposed to just getting tyres when you rock up at a meeting, fit them up, and then pull them off at the end of the meeting, is going to be cheaper than trying to maintain used old tyres.
You got it.
It's a no-brainer.
We'll have a race team again, mate. Force from the dude racing.
I reckon we will. Anyone who wants to donate, make sure you do. We might start a GoFundMe.
You should own a wreck, mate.
Not at the moment. Not unless I'll own a wreck when they do what we're talking about. How's that?
Righto.
Okay, game on. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed that. It's a great insight to the engine side of supercars and also what could potentially be done to actually save a few bucks.
Yeah, some big savings there, mate, and they've got to go after them. They've got to go after them, put more cars on the grid, and race teams need to make money. They're a business.
And at the end of the day, for the fan up on the hill, they'll still sound good, they'll still be quick, but just save the team a heap of dollars.
Yep.
Now, I want to bring something else up in the cost saving. We didn't get a chance to talk about it in the workshop, was telemetry.
Yeah.
That's another thing as well. And why I bring this up is TCR, the new category in Australia, actually don't have telemetry in the race cars as well. So it's back to the good old, bit like Formula Ford, driver, engineer, verbal, no squiggly lines.
Yeah, you can still download the data, but it's not coming live back to the pit, and you haven't got 4 guys there watching it. So, you know, that's what sort of needs to happen in supercars. You've got data engineers and engine guys and people watching tyre pressures. You just got a bank of people looking at monitors, and, you know, we're not landing on the moon here. We're just racing cars. Yep. So put all that stuff back in the driver's hands. That used to be a skill of the driver. Have you got oil pressure? Is your engine temp warm enough? What are your tyre pressures?
Well, yeah, and it taught the driver as well, didn't it?
Taught the driver to think about what was going on.
Taught the driver mechanically, and they had to learn about the car mechanically as well, because they couldn't rely on just going, oh, it's got understeer, then take off and have a latte. Like, you had to know what you're talking about.
You had to know what you were talking about and be able to communicate with the engineer. So that was a good skill, and it's something that's going to be lost.
Bone life telemetry?
Bone it.
Out the door?
Out the door, mate.
Right.
Couple of $100 grand saving right there.
NASCAR do the same, don't they? NASCAR, you can't have telemetry at the race meetings, is that correct?
Yeah, they have. There's no live telemetry. They now, because they've gone EFI with the engines, they have some downloadable data on engines, but they don't have speed traces like we do or anything like that. But it's a double-edged sword there. But over in NASCAR, because they haven't got data, they spend a fortune on having photographers and people around the track taking pictures of the cars and then working out ride heights, what everyone else has got. So you have to be a little bit careful there, but you can write the rules to ban all that stuff for sure.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you just quickly, another thing they should be doing, and I had this written down on a sheet that I did years ago about cost containment, was that supercars have got 3 or 4 big Pantech and B double trucks, right?
Yeah.
One there is just for journos to go in and get free sandwiches on a lunch.
Have you been in?
No, don't be silly. I've never been invited for a free lunch. Is to actually gut one of them, and if they go what we've been talking about to a lot more controlled parts, like the front end and obviously everything else that's controlled in the car, have a parts truck there. When I was racing in Europe, every category that I raced in had a parts truck. So you didn't have to carry
the same thing in Australia.
Porsche do the same. So you roll up, if you break an upright, you bend something or whatever, because everything is common throughout the whole cars. You roll up with your credit card, there's a dude sitting there with a cash register. Yeah, what do you want? Oh, give me a front upright, give me a credit card. Oh, no, you won't. Team didn't have to carry parts. So all that costs was saved. Supercars could put a little bit of freight on top, a little bit of GST for themselves. They could earn a buck out of it because it'd still be cheaper for the teams. So it's a revenue income for Supercars. They could reinvest back in the category. Happy days. Why wouldn't you do that?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. The teams are built around a manufacturing base, so you know they've got the equipment, they've got all the stuff. What do they do with it if they don't make parts anymore? So that's probably the pushback.
Better than going broke. If you go to that system, it's cheaper parts, as we've proved.
Yeah,
rather than manufacturing
potentially.
yourself.
But if you're already set up and you own all the equipment and you can make all your parts yourself.
But I'm just saying consumables.
Yeah.
Just consumables. Just have it there. But anyway, there's something I always thought about going. Now, grassroots section, our Greenfields grassroots. We haven't got one this episode.
We've got a big one coming.
Because we've got a big one. We're putting all our resources into a massive one. It's a massive underground grassroots sport that's going to blow your mind because we're actually going to be testing a few of these vehicles right here at Norwell, and we're going to have a few of the top guys in that category explain what it's all about.
And
so
some grassroots guys.
And some grassroots guys as well. Yeah, because it's a category that's got grassroots right up to really professional. So it's going to be a massive. We're actually going to put a bit of effort in this one, and we're going to be testing the cars ourselves. So look out for that one. That'll be in episode 7. So the Greenfield grassroots. That'll be a massive one. So we're going to have it then. Again, all resources into that. Dude, a segment which I always like is our comment section. And it seems that Trackside from Supercars seems to like the idea as well, because someone sent me a video of the 3 commentators for Supercars Trackside actually have a comment section. So just check this out for a minute.
Quickfire answers here, gentlemen. All right, from Tom McNamara, what's the panel's predictions for the PerTech Enduro Cup? Mark Scaife?
Well, I think...
Yeah, so what do you think about that? That looks a little bit familiar, like our comment section.
Yeah, well, we didn't invent the idea, but we have been using it, and we've had a massive reaction to it, and I reckon it's cool that Supercars have picked that up and are engaging with their fans at that level. So awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for watching our program too, guys. Very good. And glad to see we helped you out as well.
You reckon they've knocked you off?
It's a dead ringer. The question's up on the bottom. It's a dead ringer. It's a dead takeoff, no doubt about it. Because it's something I suggested to them ages ago. When I was employed by Motogp, and they kept blowing it off, saying, "No, that'll never work." Seems to work.
So they've done R&D, mate.
Yes.
Rip off and duplicate.
R&D, rip off and duplicate. I like that. Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
Cool.
Yeah, if it works, that's all right. So glad we helped out, guys. Rightio. Now, on that subject is comments. Rightio, let's hop straight into it. Top fan. Felicia Scott Russell. How did you earn the name The Enforcer, and how did Paul earn the name The Dude?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Thanks, Felicia. Over to you, Paul. How did you get the name The Dude?
Well, it's pretty simple. I've been in America in my early 20s and come back, and then everyone called everyone Dude that time over in America, and I just come back with that saying. I'd been in America a week and come back an American. And started calling everyone Dude, so then they started calling me Dude, and that's how it stuck.
You're a little bit country too. You like the country. I mean, around Norhill too. You got the ranch theme around here as well. So
embraced it.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Nicknames are good, mate. No one has a nickname in the sport anymore.
No one. And you got to have.
Frosty.
Yeah, Frosty's got one.
That's.
Yeah,
but there's no.
Well, that's about it.
Yeah.
Well, to answer your question about my one, it was actually I came back from Europe, and I came back because Europe was just full on, it was kill or be killed sort of attitude you had to drive in. And when I came over here, I ruffled a few feathers because there was a bit of gentleman racing going on, and come out and served a few dudes and all the rest of it.
Did a bit of enforcing.
Did a bit of enforcing. But it was actually a journalist, Paul Gaver, actually wrote wrote an article. Paul Gaver, put it on there and said, the new enforcer of, supercars or whatever. And I thought, well, no one wanted to wear the black hat. Everyone wanted to wear the white one. And I thought, I'm comfortable with the black hat. I've been a mongrel most of my life, so
good.
I don't mind doing that. So that's how it rolled on. So I just rolled on with it, and stuck ever since. So right to this very day with Enforcer and the Dude. So there you go. Scott Brody, great show once again, guys. Great to hear 2 guys talking about motorsport the way you do. So Thanks for that, Brody.
Get a lot of those.
Yes, yep.
Yeah.
Now, it's a long question, but I'll pick up the last part of it. Last of all, why do multi-car teams like BJR and Kelly Racing continue to run multiple cars, plus extra cars in lower classes, and still only run mid-race pack? Would they be better off pulling their resources and maybe running 2 cars and keeping the same sponsors all season?
Well, the running the cars in the lower classes is a business exercise, so that's generating income for them. So that's a commercial decision, no different to anyone that runs in those lower categories. And they own the wrecks. So if they own the wreck and they want to keep their franchise alive, you've got to race it or hand it back. So they obviously want to keep it alive. I think there's value in owning the licence.
Hence our 2 episodes here of how to save money in supercars. If the teams are more profitable, they wouldn't have to go searching around some of the other categories as an income, because that income is supplemented the main cars, isn't it? Yeah. That's why they run it. I mean, there are probably a lot of teams would prefer just to run 2 cars, like they always did, but they have to have another revenue stream.
That's it. That's what they do, and they do a good job of it. BJR, for example, run a lot of cars and run them pretty successfully with the resources they got.
I agree, though. It must hurt them a bit. It would be a lot easier running 2 cars and focusing on that, rather than running 4 cars is a lot of effort.
It's a hell of a lot of effort. So.
Yeah. So I hope that answers the question there. Steve Slater, hey Russ, was wondering your thoughts on how to make the racing more exciting when the margins are so close, e.g. Less than a second covering the top 20 at Townsville during qualifying. Previous discussions referring to reducing aero to promote harder racing. But is there anything else that can be done to make the racing more exciting? Steve, absolutely. We said it earlier on in these episodes about that due to some of the homologating teams hot rodding the aero process along the way, there's probably 30% more downforce on the cars than there probably was than there was in Project Blueprint. So absolutely, get rid of aero will make the racing better because it lengthens the braking distances, i.e. like in the wet. As soon as you get long braking distances, you get more
opportunity to have a crack.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you agree
Tyre
with
deg, that? So yeah, there's lots of things you can do to make the racing better, and the number one thing they can do is don't let the stewards or a driving standard advisor or anyone else get involved with the guys on the racetrack. Just let them sort it out. There's plenty of category. You go race in America, there's not one person in any control tower in any official capacity telling you how to drive.
How true. And that's how you produce better racing. The racing has to begin on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to let them tackle.
You've got to. Sometimes you're going to get a blood nose, mate, but that's what people come to see.
Yeah, you don't go to an NRL, AFL match and not see them tackle.
No.
So you got to tackle hard. If it gets out of control, and NASCAR have done it before, if it gets out of control and they're going to do some damage, they pull it back in.
Well, their way, if it's out of control, they'll let it happen because they know it's good for the TV and good for the fans, and then grab the 2 blokes and go and have a meeting with them and go, you guys sort it out or we will.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's about as far as it gets.
Absolutely. And there's always the payback. You know, at the end of the day, if you get served out by someone, I ran the payback system. Someone served me out, I didn't go whinging to the stewards and carry on like a sook. Like at the end of the day, I just had a little marker in my head and on the dash and going, yeah, I'll get you when the time comes around. I always did.
Yeah, long memory.
Yeah, absolutely. But it makes for better
Sometimes
racing.
it takes years to get people back for the right opportunity to present itself.
Don't worry. I remembered a few. James Gill, thanks fellas for a great show again. Very interesting look in under the skin of supercars. Rightio. Now it says, keep pressing the dude for difficult questions. So got to keep it difficult because you're good at answering the difficult questions, by the way. Would at some stage you guys be able to show us details about how the teams use simulators to train, if they do? Cheers again and thanks.
Yeah, we should do something on that.
That's a big thing because a couple of the drivers that you train,
they're all on them now.
Anton's
a whiz on the thing, so Erebus have got a great simulator, so we should go and do a story on that.
Yeah, well, we're working on hitting the road soon and doing a road trip down to Melbourne, so we could rock in and be really interesting to see where it's come. And it's come a long, long way with simulators and that sort of thing. So yeah, it'd be an interesting one. Yeah, we'll get onto that, James, and bring to that episode for sure. There's a simulator up here as
Andy
well.
McElroy's got
Andy
one.
McElroy's got one too.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll do a segment on that. That'd be really interesting, and see where the benefits are in it, because there definitely is one, because all the guys now are using them. So that'd be really good, mate. What a great show once again.
Pulled it off again.
Yeah, no, we're all over it. Dude's life message.
Okay.
So have you got one for us?
I have, mate. You can't swim against the tide, but you can wait for it to turn.
Okay. That's very deep.
It is.
Okay. You can't swim against the tide, but you can wait for it to turn.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll remember that one. Are we aiming towards that? Anything in particular?
Just anything, mate. You just can't fight City Hall.
Yeah.
Can't get in a blue with something you can't win.
Yep.
But it always comes back your way if you wait long enough.
Okay. Geez, I've been waiting a while then. Yeah, very good. I like it. I like
Now,
it. Very
are
good.
you going to go to the race at Queensland Raceway?
Oh yeah.
I'm going to drag you there, mate. You're
Oh,
going
yeah,
to come and give me a hand with...
Yeah, the Supercars race.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to come to one of the days.
I
Yeah.
might put you to work on the Super 3 team.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll come out to there, because you reckon you're like a rock star there, so I should go out and.
Mate, you won't be
give
able
you
to
a
get
hand.
through the front gate, mate. You'll be mobbed. You better get your merchandise ready.
No, it'd be good. I'd like to see some of my old mates there, catch up with Scafey and
Good.
some
Yeah.
of the guys there, Larko and.
They'll be
all
happy to
those
see you,
guys.
mate.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be rapt to see me. Yeah, because I've heard a lot.
Don't be like that,
I've
mate.
heard a lot for them.
Don't be like that,
All
mate.
right, I'll let it go.
Let it go.
I'll let it go one day. Thanks for tuning
Can't
in,
swim
guys.
against the tide, mate. You can wait for it to turn.
I can't wait, mate. I want to keep swimming. It's been great, dude. Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks for everyone. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you for episode 7, and we'll bring you something new and interesting, no doubt about it. And no ball. See you guys.